Occupy Ghana has issued a statement, and I find many portions of that statement quite serious and at the heart of a serious or a pretentious fight against corruption, especially amongst public office holders. I hope that both of you will give me a response.
Certainly. Ready, thank you. I saw this release yesterday.
Yes.
And I got particularly worried about paragraph 3, which you spoke to extensively. That their comments as contained in paragraph 3 is worrisome. You have no power to say that a law passed by Parliament is unconstitutional. There's no such power inherent in Occupy Ghana. If they are aggrieved by the provision of that law, the forum to go to is the Supreme Court. Let the Supreme Court make that determination.
Okay, they are not saying, they said you conspired.
Yes.
Unconstitutionally.
You see, I'm attacking the employment of diction, their choice of words. They are impugning improper motive to Parliament. And they cannot do that. I think it's a group of lawyers or a group
of professionals, including lawyers.
Including lawyers. So if you feel strongly about some provisions in that law, it is not for you to attack the integrity of Parliament. To use words like we conspire. To conspire, that's a crime. You understand? To conspire to undermine the Constitution is such a grievous crime. So I find it very, very offensive. I find it as unwarranted. If you are aggrieved by the provisions of the law they quoted, which is Act 550, go to the Supreme Court and let the Supreme Court make that pronouncement. Let the determination come that the particular provision in the law is unconstitutional, and so it is struck down as such. Then Parliament will take steps and do the needful. But you don't sit outside of Parliament and write things to attack the integrity of Parliament. It's unacceptable. Then again, they gave a litany of instances, including dates regarding letters, confidential in some occasions, that they have sent to the cabinet, the attorney, then I know. Fortuitously, we are in a dispensation where the government, core government, is not only the sponsor of bills that can be enacted into law. So as we speak, on a very quiet note, myself and 2 other colleagues in Parliament, we are working on this.
On what?
On sponsoring a private member's bill on code of conduct.
Yeah, they said they were doing the same until this was brought to their attention.
Yes, I've read that.
The public officers bill.
Government was already.
Yes, and that was brought to their attention.
Yes.
And when they read it, they realized that it principally had all the things that they were also working on.
But again, in their conclusion, they said that there's some government has developed cold feet. There's some liturgy on the part of government to pursue this matter.
Yes.
Indeed, they allude to the fact that at a certain time during a cabinet meeting, there was heated debate. The people were not in agreement to cabinet.
No, they're actually referring to a letter, a response they got.
Okay.
And that response, so they speak about a first one, which says that a cabinet secretary responded and is marked confidential and said that the Cabinet Committee on Governance and Legal Matters had considered the bill and referred it to Cabinet for approval. But Cabinet had requested the committee to undertake further work on some aspects.
Yes.
Then they wrote another letter on the 17th of October, that's about 6 weeks after, asking for an update. They didn't get a response. Then from October, they waited another 3 months, 11 January. they wrote to the cabinet secretary requesting for an update again.
Yes, I've read all that.
Yes, they got no response.
About 10 or
then
11.
On 14th of February, now this time round, this letter from the cabinet secretary was marked not just confidential, but secret as well.
Yes.
And now they were informed that the cabinet committee had resubmitted a bill to cabinet with the necessary recommendations.
Yes.
But cabinet having reconsidered the bill had declined approval because in their view there were already adequate provisions.
Yes.
Then they thought that these contents were disappointing.
Exactly.
But because it had been marked confidential and secret, they could not divulge it to the public.
Yes.
So they wrote on 2 occasions asking the cabinet secretary to remove the confidential and secret so that they can let Ghanaians know what the cabinet of the Republic of Ghana thinks about this.
No response.
No response.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that's my point. So between February and now, you could, as a group, have taken some initiative through a member of parliament. As we speak.
No, so they were up to 16 June. The last letter is 16 June.
Yes.
So up to June. So that's just some.
No, but I'm saying that
2 months ago.
Yes, but I'm saying that as of the 14th February 2023 letter, which told you specifically that cabinet, upon reconsideration of the bill, had declined approval. That's finality.
They kept engaging.
Yes, but I'm saying that should tell you that government is no longer interested. So the alternative is to use the private members route. And we speak of matters of this year. So these are matters of currency.
Right.
As we speak, I am working on a private members bill for bail. You know, in this country, we don't have any law on bail. It's the common law doctrine on bail. It's a discretion that the court exercises. I think that we've gotten to a stage where we need an enactment from Parliament regarding how bail should be exercised. The right of bail should be exercised. Then 2, the code of conduct. Look, we have a code of conduct for health workers, code of conduct for civil servants, code of conduct for GRA staff, code of conduct for GAPOA staff, code of conduct for, I think, local government, all manner of code of conducts, non-synchronized. And I made this discovery sometime last year as a result of some committee engagement. So myself and 2 others in Parliament, we are working on a private members bill. I think the bill is almost ready, the draft, so that we can engage the legislative department on this matter. So now we have avenues to be able to handle some of these matters. So for me, this letter from...
Are you not interested
Yeah.
in the posturing and conduct of your government on this matter? Are you not interested that irrespective of the fact that your government in its 2022 manifesto promised to do something, this has been its conduct over the year? Is that not of public interest?
May I add that indeed, as part of our business for this meeting, there's a compendium of activities that Parliament will engage in, including number of bills to be considered, number of motions to be considered, number of questions for ministers to answer, and all that. Amongst the bills to be considered is this bill, Code of Conduct for Public Officers Bill.
Yeah, but I'm sure you were not aware that Cabinet has not granted approval.
Hold on.
Yes.
And this is a 2022 bill, which ought to have been worked on this year.
Yes.
But I see some liturgy. And I see that by next year, the life of this parliament will come to an end. And the bill may have to be presented again. So, if Occupy Ghana has this background information, the point I'm making, Doc, is that they ought to have abandoned that path and taken the unbeaten path of private members' bill, so this can be done expressly. It's just we need to synchronize the existing code of conduct and anchor it in the constitutional provision regarding code of conduct for public officers for some designated public office holders, and do it. We can always, at the cost of consideration stage, make amendments and improve the legislation. But the most important thing is that it has to be passed because of the matters such as the Cecilia Adapa issues. So these are my preliminary views on the matter.
On the Cecilia Adapa issue, so I can go to.
Okay.
Yes.
Now,
and the OSP.
Cecilia, I've had the opportunity to speak extensively on the matter.
Okay.
And my view is that for purposes of good corporate governance, she ought not to have that quantum of money at home. You see, the conscience of the nation was shocked not by the nature of the crime, but by the quantum being the subject of the crime. In fact, she would have attracted sympathy if it had come out that her jewelry had been stolen from her room, her kente cloths had been stolen, the suits of her husband have also been stolen, and some other valuables. Everyone, including myself, would have sympathized with him, because myself, I suffered burglary. People broke into my home and took my property away. But the revulsion that the entire nation is expressing is in respect of the quantum of the amount mentioned. But for the quantum, she would have been the necessary victim that she ought to have been. But in this case, she's not. She's become, in law school, there's a cliche that we play with, complainant and accused. Complainant and accused. So she's found herself as a complainant, and suddenly she's been accused of, hoarding monies. And monies, Randy, that persons like me have reasonably linked it to her work on the drains. Because you see, when she was questioned in Parliament by Honorable Eric Opoku regarding how she applied $43 million, she simplistically said that she desilted the Odo drain and carted some 5 heaps of rubbish dump away from the Odo site. That's all. Eric went further to ask for details of contracts awarded. Those documents, as we speak, have not been provided. The nature of the contract, the nature of the work. Because you see, $43 million is no money that you put in your back pocket and walk about with it. That's a colossal amount of money. So, we're all politicians. We're all senior public servants. But I'm worried. I'm worried that in being a member of a government that is touting cashless economy, digitalization, prosecuting people for dealing in foreign currencies at Cycle and at Nima Mamobi Gota, for a senior member of the government to have this amount of foreign currency in a home, and much more, so much so that this amount was stolen, $1 million. I'm not saying it. She said 300,000 euros. As for the amount of Ghana cedis, you are careful not to state it because it may exacerbate the matter further. It's worrisome. And so, if special prosecutor is delving into the matter, it falls squarely within their mandate. Corruption-related matters. They can always delve into it. So, we want to see. We will expect some outcome, and then we can deal with the rest.
Oh.
Yeah, Dr. Randy, I have always supported any support or any form of support that any CSO or any group of persons want to lend to government in our collective effort at strengthening laws, strengthening institutions, for us to be more resilient and be on the preventive side in our quest and poise to reduce corruption and its prevalence. African Development Bank posited that nearly $148 billion is what Africa loses annually through corruption. And so all of us are minded that we should be able to take steps to ensure that corruption is mitigated, if not eradicated. And talking about corruption, the first thing that comes to people's minds is political office holders or the political class. it appears political class as synonymous seemingly with corruption. But corruption manifests in various facets, and corruption has many dimensions and many forms of corruption. And oftentimes, much as I cannot on any occasion say for a fact that political class of any country should be cannot be complicit in any way of corruption. Whereas I cannot say that, I can say also that there are many other ways that countries lose funds and monies and resources through corruption, other than the channel that may be attributed to the political class. And that we must also be minded. Because oftentimes studies have shown that those are even much more gargantuan than the ones that others might be of interest, because those seemingly to, we have voted you in power, we have given you the resources of state, and it is expected that you most judiciously put to use public resources and not appropriate it for your private gains. And that is most unfortunate. So the attempt by Occupy Ghana and their interests in the Conduct of Public Officers Bill 2020 is one that we cannot take away from. But whilst I commend them at their attempt to support government and building institutions, as many CSOs commended highly the efforts of government in establishing the Office of Special Prosecutor, His Excellency Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, in his poise and quest and commitment at eradicating corruption beyond rhetorics, went further to institute establish the Office of the Special Prosecutor as an additional institution that will support the anti-corruption architecture that we have in this country to ensure that we mitigate corruption. A lot of applause was received on that. And so I agree, we have existing laws. Many occasions in this country we have complained that our problems are not so much about new laws that must be enacted, but more importantly and principally are the effective and efficient implementation of the existing laws that we have passed. So if we are only minded in passing new laws, but little attention is paid to how well we are implementing the existing laws, that will be problematic. But whilst I admire the zeal and commitment of Occupy Ghana in their pursuit of this quest, I would also advise that they are measured in the way that they express some seeming frustration. If you read this there's not a single paragraph that you would read without having a feel of the sense of frustration, or maybe someone to say urgency on their part. But they should also know that all of us are minded that we must protect the resources of this country. So whereas we will not in few say Namdodo or Senkwan, so we can welcome new legislations, but let us also be focused on implementing the existing laws. They have a problem with the public officers.
Reverend, with respect to the Occupy Ghana, the issue of existing laws and others, the point they make is that if you look at 2864, which deals with the declaration of assets, it speaks about, it speaks about before taking office. Then it says that we have done an Act 550, which was to give effect.
No, but there are three scenarios.
Yes,
I appreciate that.
Before taking office, after exiting office,
yes,
and at the time
completion of office. Yeah, but it's saying that by this 550, what has happened is that instead of the before taking office, we have now created a situation where it says it gives the public office holder 6 months
within.
Yes.
Yeah, so Doc, now that's the thrust of their disagreement.
Yes.
And in describing that disagreement, they go on to quote the Public Officers Holders Declaration of Assets and Disqualification Act 1998.
Yes.
Act 550.
Yes.
1998.
Yes.
Act 550.
Yes.
To their mind, it is in contravention with fundamentally Article 2861 of the Constitution.
Yes, because 2861 says before taking office.
Yes. So
and the 550
that is their contention.
Yes, the
that's
550
their major contention.
is giving the public office holders 6 months.
Yes.
So and they give reasons why they think that 6 months is problematic.
Yes, so Doc, tenably so, if they have identified to their mind that there's a seeming contravention of Acts 550 to 2861 of the Constitution, that's my good brother Eche advised. The Supreme Court is there to interpret such matters. Every enactment of Parliament is also subject to the interpretation of the Supreme Court. We just recently had...
You don't find it curious?
No.
You don't find it curious that, you see, what you have described is a route to take.
Yes.
Yes.
What they are pursuing is also another route.
Yes.
Yes.
And I see Occupy Ghana, in terms of this letter, as not wanting to be confrontational.
No, it's
But
a,
no.
it's
No,
a
hold on.
total-
No, just hold on. I'm not saying that I agree with their route.
Okay.
I'm not saying I agree.
Okay,
But I'm saying that it is also a route.
Okay. You want
Yes,
to
this
see
is
a
a
rationale
Why they choose to take this
to
route
engage.
is their matter.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Yes.
But at least that's a route that they've taken.
Great.
And nobody doubts that is also not a route that can be taken.
Okay.
Great.
Now, you would realize that they refer to the very first letter
Yes.
that Attorney General writes to them.
Yeah.
And in that letter, they say that the Attorney General wrote to Occupy Ghana to agree
Yeah.
to amend the law by deleting the unconstitutional extension of time and indicating that office was seeking cabinet approval to prepare the necessary amendment bill to be subsequently laid before Parliament for enactment. I'm sure that if at this point the Attorney General indicated to them that there was a disagreement, they didn't agree with them in terms of their position of the law, they would not have continued in that regard.
So, Doc,
But this gave them
Now
some
they are
comfort.
attacking the integrity of the Attorney
So,
General.
Doc, so that
No, with
you know,
correspondence.
Yes,
they are not making up stories.
So whereas in portions of the and I'm not my posture is not to be adversarial to the position of Occupy Ghana, that I must state at the beginning, because I fully support every CSO, every organization who is anti-graft organization, or whose object and passion and pursuit is to strengthen further our laws and institutions so that we'll protect the modest resources of the state. That said, what I'm saying is that their disagreement principally have been captured in paragraph 3.
Yeah.
And it's seeming, to their mind, conflict between Act 550, which was passed in 1998, and 2861 of the Constitution. There are many routes, I agree, to address this and to ensure that if they think there's some lacuna is addressed. One of the ways they employed was engaging the Attorney General's office. But they, instead of them shedding light on the kind of cooperation they have had, they seem only to be shedding light on instances where certain disagreements came up. And so they need to acknowledge that the cooperation that they have had from the office of the Attorney General right from the beginning of their pursuit is one that cannot be understated. However, if it got to some point where certain disagreements came, these are matters of the law, and minds are bound to disagree. In one instance, the response that they quote from the Cabinet Secretary that they describe in their item number 8, the 20th February 2023, Occupy Ghana letter to Cabinet Secretary requesting a withdrawal of the confidential and secret status of the 14th February 2023 letter to its disappointing content.
Yes.
This could have been avoided.
Why?
To its disappointing content.
Why?
May be said with Ghanaians. You can disagree with certain positions.
Yes.
But that should get you to be measured in the way that you describe it.
Why?
So that is for what is what.
Yes.
So for what is what.
In fact,
so that, that is my view on this. Again,
Honorable, I know that very sensitive issues are discussed at cabinet, and therefore I appreciate the oath that is taken. I appreciate why some things must be labeled confidential and secret and all that. I appreciate all those things. But when there's a discussion about declaration of assets and conduct of public office holders, and a civil society group has engaged government so far, and they've been told, okay, in the first place, we agree, we want cabinet approval to do something. The cabinet says we refer this to this, we refer this to that. A committee, subcommittee has worked, they brought it. Cabinet secretary says that we've sent it back to them because we want them to rework certain options. Then finally, they are told that cabinet has not approved it because they disagree with it. Obviously, it is disappointing for any CSO that has been on the path of getting this public office holders bill enacted to pursue this thing for 3 years, only to be told that after all this thing, cabinet says that all the work that has been done, they don't agree, so they have not approved it, and therefore there's nothing that is going to come to Parliament for any debate and possible enactment.
Doc,
that's obviously disappointing.
Doc, in the history,
and they think that Ghanaians deserve to know what their cabinet thinks about a bill to regulate the conduct of public officers.
Doc, very much so. But across the world and in governance system, there are many decisions that have gone to the attention of cabinets, many governments, even in our sub-Saharan, in Ghana, in our Fourth Republic, many NDC, NPP, many cabinets have been constituted. And within the tenure of cabinets, many decisions or proposals have come to them. Not all of them have been passed.
True.
Not all of them have been assented
True.
to. It does not mean that the ones that did not find expression in acceptance are sort of bogus or sort of inimical to the position of the state. There are considerations why decisions are taken to approve or disapprove.
So we should know.
Recently,
because we are all...
No, I just want to...
Yes.
That it is normal practice that cabinet feels. Cabinet is a combination of various members, various ministers. Recently, I represented my minister at cabinet and presented a proposal. In our view, we thought it was fantastic. We thought it was well researched. We thought it was going to be great and I mean a paradigm shift in the education system for the country. But we captured our proposal and then we defended same to cabinet. Cabinet had other recommendations and which informed us to now reposition and take cue from the views of cabinet so that we could reposition that same intent with the same objective. Sometimes maybe the mechanism or certain things that go with the same intent that you want to achieve is what cabinet might disagree. But you can now come back, take cue from the views on grounds of same cabinet is approved to rework on it and to go. Cabinet does not oppose any intent to strengthen, capacities of institutions and law to protect the modest resources of the country. However, it's not every bill that is anti-graft bill by the state and form that is that passes
this
through
particular
simply because
bill,
it's an anti-graft bill.
This particular bill, incidentally, and quite significantly, seeks to regulate the conduct of the very people who are superintending the approval of sale.
No, but already, everybody reading this will sense strong prejudice on the part of OccupyGhana, even in the way that they accuse Parliament for conspiring to pass a law which, to their view, though they have not tested in Supreme Court, but they have the gravitas to conclude that it is unconstitutional.
If I do a poll today, if I conduct a poll on this show today, I'll be surprised if 90% of the respondents believe that Parliament has been engaged in a lot of conspiracy over the years.
Well, we look forward to that.
No, I'm just saying.
We look forward to that.
It's not as if you don't hear that every day.
No, we look forward to that.
Yes.
But I just want to conclude on this to say that that's why I stated my position at the outset. All of us here, including your good self, we support and this government, we support every suggestion, legislation, institution, any arrangement that will help us further strengthen arrangements to protect the modest resources. So constructively, the proposal that comes also ought to be scrutinized and the best one accepted. Now again, and I haven't done so, there are still avenues. If some of us in Parliament, my good friend Honorable Dafiameko and a number of us in Parliament, if any day OccupyGhana should engage us, state their proposals, their intents and all that clear, we will engage them.
I'm working on
and and definitely dovetail that into existing works that are ongoing on the private members bill, which is targeted at the same pursuit or similar pursuit. That can be explored. We have recently, pursued a private members bill on a proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian family values. Bill 2022, which has gone all the way from first reading, the second reading, now the consideration stage.
Well, that one doesn't govern the conduct of all of you.
but it's a matter.
Maybe some of you.
Mischief detected. Mischief detected.
Let me be careful when I respond to this. It's a trap for all you know. But I must conclude that President's acceptance of Honorable Cecilia Dapa's resignation letter in its content, verbiage, is above board. There's nothing to be undermined. There's nothing to be twisted. There's nothing to be misquoted about.
My dear Intim
very sound. No, bro.
My dear Intim My dear Intim
There's nothing, to be twisted about it.
The private members,
but I will say,
considering.
But I will say that, Dr. Randy, I have a former woman organizer in my constituency, polling station. Her name is so interesting.
Yes.
Amma Nyasamshe.
Yes.
Amma Nyasamshe.
Yes.
Get a matter and see.
Yes. Oh, there's a famous.
That's the name of Ghana. In fact, that is Ghana's property.
In fact, there's a famous
Republic of Nyasamshe.
There's a famous criminal law case reported.
Okay.
The Republic versus Nyasamshe.
Very popular case. Yeah. So no, this when such matters happen.
Yes.
We should. It's a matter that generally the public has expressed very huge interest in from all political parties, MPP, NDC. The general public are very much concerned about this issue, and so the minister has resigned, and she did not hesitate to resign when the matter came to public notice, and the president did not hesitate to accept the resignation, and more even importantly, subsequent to the resignation, appropriate institutions and procedures have been commenced to investigate the matter, as have been alleged. And so, Office of the Special Prosecutor has taken that up yesterday. They issued a statement indicating the steps they have taken to investigate what they have called suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses regarding large amounts of money and other valuable items reportedly stolen from the residence of the former minister. But in all this, we also must not forget so quickly the positive contributions that in over 33 decades of the public life of the Honorable Cecilia Dapa, she had impacted, which Ghanaians are grateful for and which posterity will also look kindly upon. So much as the matter is in the hands of institutions which are appropriately clothed with authority, the gravitas and resources to arrive at credible conclusion, we can only await what they find out and then what they say going forward. And it's a cue for every public office holder that we are in very sensitive times and that our conduct are one that every eye is looking upon, and therefore we ought to always watch and pray. And as His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo had said time and time again, his intent of taking office or serving the good people of Ghana in the high office of president is not to amass wealth, is to serve the good people and leave legacies that are sustainable. And so anyone that is seeking to support him by serving in the ministerial appointment or any appointment for that matter must also be guided by the philosophy, ideology, posture, commitment, and what the venerable man has demonstrated in all his public life as a man that cannot have any record of corruption whatsoever against him, a man that has selflessly served in any capacity that was given to him and in his current position as president. All of us who are privileged to be serving under His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo ought to be guided by same. But that is not to pass any premature judgment on the Honorable Cecilia Dapa. And we only wait. These are matters of allegations. We only wait to get to the bottom of it. And the state is interested, just as the public and media are also interested.